Hey, friends, welcome to the very first live on YouTube here. I've got some great friends joining us. We've got Luke and Carla. Now, before we jump into this great topic we're going to talk about here today, I got to plug the sponsors just so they pay me. Inside Out Nutrition, healthy shakes and teas, and donuts. Yes, folks, I know. Healthy donuts, as well as Superior Creations, all your custom tumbler needs. You guys will have to get one of your special loved ones or your favorite wrestlers. Check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/MN Creations. And last but not least, Darren Corbin, the loudmouth mercenary. You guys have probably seen him down in St. Louis there, but I digress. Now we're going to jump into it. Luke, you've got some exciting news coming out of your area here. You have a fun show coming July 19th. Give us a quick snippet of that.
Well, first of all, before we get into that, I do want to give a shout out. You bring up Darren Corbin, and I would be remiss before we get everything started. I still owe that man one back at a part of a St. Louis Anarchy event many years ago.
Yep.
He and Walk in Reality Dan Walsh were wrestling for the St. Louis Anarchy Heavyweight Championship, and both Darren Corbin and Dan Walsh both took liberties of smashing me in the corner as a referee. Walsh was more than willing to apologize. Darren Corbin, I'm still waiting for that apology all those years later. A day may come, but I'm not holding my breath. Now that we've gotten all that stuff taken care of, I want to talk about the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, and it's going to be taking place this Sunday. To give you an idea, the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame is an organization that strives on giving recognition and acknowledging the accomplishments of those individuals, both men and women, both competitors and outside personnel who have made contributions into the world of professional wrestling. Now, a lot of Hall of Fames are basically for a promotion, or they're from like a promotion and a sister promotion. I wanted to share something real quick before we got rocking too far along. This right here is the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame championship belt. Now, this doesn't get defended. This doesn't get put out on shows. This is a championship that recognizes all the promotions. I hope my camera will cooperate here. Most championship belts, you would see champions' names or wrestlers that have competed or things along the line. This right here in my possession recognizes the past, present, and future of the professional wrestling industry. And to give you an idea, we're actually next year, because of all the history that's there, this very well may be the last program prior to the Hall of Fame that this belt is seen, because we're actually going to have to expand it probably before next year's Hall of Fame for the amount of promotions that have appeared in the St. Louis area. However, going back to the point at hand, on Sunday, July 19th at 1 p.m., Andres Banquet Center, 4254 Telegraph Road in St. Louis, the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame is going to have the opportunity to induct 8 more professional wrestling personalities into the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to tell you right now, this has become, especially in probably the last 14 days, has become the hottest ticket in St. Louis wrestling, because it's the idea of where, just for starters, you have over 200 years of professional wrestling experience between the 8 inductees this year. So that in itself is a huge statement to the history of professional wrestling. Now, when you look at it, some people may say, well, ticket prices are a little high, but we know in the world of professional wrestling, ticket prices have gotten sky high regardless of where you go. The Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame wants to make it a point to give professional wrestling fans in St. Louis, which, as Carla can attest through her many conversations with Marcus Mansfield, one of our inductees that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, St. Louis has always been deemed one of the meccas of professional wrestling. To quote wrestlers like Ric Flair, if you can make it in St. Louis, you've done something with your career. And this year with the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, you're going to get, for your $30 ticket, or $35 if you buy it at the door, you're going to get an opportunity to experience a luncheon with the wrestlers, meet and greet with the wrestlers. You get to hear all the stories. You get to look at the history. There's going to be a history exhibit, a first of its kind in the St. Louis area, Professional wrestlers from all across promotions in St. Louis are going to be showcasing items of their career. You're also going to have a pre-show and a post-show, and you get all of these things and a luncheon for $30. You can't go wrong with that kind of a ticket price.
Yep, especially getting to hear those stories of, like you said, the past, present, and future. I mean, that's one thing that I love is, like, when I read the biographies, is getting to hear those funny road stories that you don't get to hear about, like when they had to pull over the side of the road, one of them had to get out and use the bathroom, then the guy starts driving away, and, silly stuff like that. But go ahead, sorry.
Well, and again, you bring it up too, and I mean, to look at some of the things that we know, and you sit there and you get to look at the opportunity. You get to hear stories like the idea of Tom Simon, who's a man who not only spent a long degree of time in the professional wrestling world, but he's also an accomplished musician. He's also an accomplished roller derby announcer. He's been on the radio for high school football on ESPN radio in his home state of Arkansas. You get to hear the stories about how the Beast, probably one of the toughest hardcore wrestlers you've ever seen, has fallen in love with the song stylings of the one, the only Tom Jones. You get to hear the stories of how Steve Montana takes professional wrestling and moves it into the world of professional film and the Screen Actors Guild. You get to hear stories about how Big Bad Ben helped to train wrestlers and change the wrestling landscape in St. Louis through the likes of Mischief, Daisy Hayes, Delirious, Matt Seidel, Dingo, among others. There's going to be so many great experiences that you're going to have an opportunity to experience this Sunday. And the cool thing of it all, last year, there were 13 promotions as of the day of the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
9 of them were represented. There were no egos. There was no drama. There was nothing of the sort. It's what a Hall of Fame is designed to do, to acknowledge the past, who have influenced the present, who will lead to the future of the professional wrestling industry. And I got to say, from top to bottom, it's going to be a great class. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to talk about here, and then we're going to talk about Marcus Mansfield, a man who influenced my career very early on. I don't know, to be perfectly honest with you, we talk about it a little bit longer. I don't know if Carla has even heard this story about her husband and how he impacted my career way too many years ago. But like I said, from top to bottom, this coming Sunday, Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, it's going to be a historic event in the St. Louis area.
Oh, definitely. I'm excited for you guys. One of our new, co-hosts on Friends of the Squared Circle, Justin, the Real Third Man, is just a little north of you guys. And he travels down that way a lot. And I think next year, hopefully, I can get the show out and traveling. Justin, I believe, or Luke, sorry, not Justin. That's the other guy. About my roof damage and all the crap I've been dealing with that. And then, now we got the Canadian wildfires. It's just been a hot mess these last few days. But one thing with this show, I would love to travel so I can meet more friends in different cities versus just Minneapolis and Eau Claire in my neck of the woods. And you guys, I mean, just by explaining it here, like, I just want to get in the car and drive down there. But unfortunately, I got other commitments. But, just here, no drama, everybody representing everybody. Like, that's what the wrestling community needs more than ever, because this IWC sure loves to critique every little move, every little venue, every rating / how many people are in the building. But look, sounds like you guys are just excited to get everyone there and just have a blast, especially that luncheon. I mean, you don't hear about that too much, where you get some food and get to rub shoulders with great talent and Hall of Famers all in one spot for a low price of $30 or $35 at the door, like you said. So,
yeah, and to be honest with you, there's going to be so many things as a part of this history exhibit. I mean, again, I'm looking forward to all the inductees, and again, being a member of the Hall of Fame class of 2025. I always look forward to the idea of seeing new members join this elite organization. But being able to go back and look at some of the things that we've collected as a part of the history exhibit, that's going to be some of the most unique things. And I'm gonna kind of pull that curtain back a little bit here. We're only a couple days away, and I have to give a shout out to the Mansfield family. I remember back many years ago when Marcus Mansfield wasn't Marcus Mansfield; he was Malachi Manson.
Yeah.
Oh. And to give you an idea, he came out, he was always wearing a white tux jacket with tails. He was always where I believe it was white trunks with red stars and vice versa. And he always had a pair of white and red boots. And thanks to the cooperation with the Mansfield family, we're going to have the opportunity to display items like that in our Hall of Fame exhibit. We're going to have things like that. We've got championship belts from promotions that no longer exist. We've got articles from different local and national newspapers. We've got articles about St. Louis wrestlers from that have competed in Japan. I mean, from top to bottom, that is probably, to me, one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to. But again, the whole experience really has taken a mind of its own. And again, if anybody's in the St. Louis area or in the bi-state or has access to a plane, train, automobile,
that's right,
you got to make it down Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, Andre's Banquet Center for the 2026 Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Definitely pack them in the car, folks. Get down there, see it. Let's jump over to Carla quick. What's your involvement with this promotion or event, I should say? Wow, I am off the rails here with these energy drinks today. But let's kind of hear from you about this a great event coming up here.
So my late husband, Marcus, he'll be inducted on Sunday. Go back to like early 1990. Mark first got started. Actually, he and Glenn Jacobs, we now know Kane in WWE, they kind of got started together.
Okay.
Made it a joint venture and began to get trained here in a barn right off of I-70, about an hour from Bowling Green, which is where they lived at the time.
Okay.
And, yeah, we have been through the gambit with training, with back rooms, with venues, with promoting, with him wrestling. I was an announcer and trained one time.
Okay.
Done it. Been there, we've lived it, ate it, breathed it.
And I'm sure you got to travel a lot. What was that like? Just being so involved with wrestling. Like, what was the highlight of the traveling? Because I feel like a lot of people underestimate how much there is in pro wrestling. You travel. Like, I used to go to Chicago, Minneapolis, Superior, Duluth. I mean, but for you, I'm sure you were going all over the country and all over down there.
We were, all over the place, mainly in the Midwest. But I mean, wherever you have an opportunity to have a show and to grow and to learn, obviously, you know how that goes. You take that up and do. You were asking one of the perks of traveling. I had a deal with Glenn and with Mark that I traveled along. I would help drive, help keep everyone awake, and stop at thrift stores and antique stores. So anytime they could like slide by one and not see it and pretend like, no, that's we have a lot of whiplash stuff going on because it's like, there's one right there, pull over. It's my turn.
Yeah.
That for a few hours traveling and then 10 hours at least for a show, to go in with ring set up, a little bit of training beforehand, all the stuff you need.
Oh, we lost her there for a quick hot second. We'll fill in some air here, but I'm sure she had a lot of people staying at her house there, Luke. I mean, back to Darren Corbin, I remember him saying that they had about 12 to 8 guys, spending the night in just one house to save on travel and motels. I mean, I'm sure you've done that as a referee where you guys have bumped up. Do you have any crazy road stories that you could share quick?
Oh, share quick. I mean, again, there's tons of them. I mean, again, I know we're going to be joined back here with Carla in just a few moments, but to give you an idea of some of the ones that I've had, I mean, again, having the opportunity of wrestling on events, being in a car for 4 or 5 hours, getting there. And I've seen wrestlers at their best. I've seen wrestlers at their worst. I've seen wrestlers making a travel. And again, like you said, the idea of having just enough money in your pocket, maybe to cover the hotel room and breakfast. And Carla can attest to this story if we go. The idea of being able and just having that camaraderie is amazing. And I mean, again, Carla, I know that you kind of popped out there for a second, but you're talking about all the road trips and all the different places and all the different, I don't want to say incentives, but can you share with the viewers a little bit about what road trips meant to you and your family?
Well, when we were young, of course, we all started out, somewhere, but we definitely started out with meager beginnings, and so you did what you did, what you could do to cut corners and to cut expenses. So guys traveling together, baby faces with baby faces, heels with heels, and doing, what you could do. And, back in the day, you kind of bringing the point of people gathering together under one roof as, a lot of different promotions. You didn't do that back in the day. You had your territory, you had your promotion, you stuck with it, and you didn't commingle. And so, yeah, just being able to be out, be able to get everyone under one roof and seeing what you're doing with that is, to me, is very impressive. But and I did want to say that, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But anyway, getting back to the question, traveling, getting that experience, being able to kind of cross over and share, and as you kind of would see through the years, that development happening with promotions starting to kind of commingle and share talent. And that's just, really progressed the world of independent wrestling, because there are so many people that love independent wrestling and follow it. And that's their thing. Just kind of like, independent music, all your indie bands, people, that's what they live for. Same thing with wrestling. And seeing that develop through the years, that's been one of my favorite things. Because as a female that was kind of sitting on the sidelines a lot, I never understood why the talent couldn't be shared. And that's been more embraced through the years. And that is definitely something that's been a perk for me to watch and see that develop. And then guys like you all to be able to gather up that talent and get it under one roof and celebrate each other and success. So thank you for what you're doing to honor that.
I mean, I'm just a simple podcast host that gets to rub shoulders with my friends and wrestlers. And, I've always said, like, I would love to get in a car full of wrestlers and just sit there and be like, all right, do your thing. Let me see how you do it. And one thing I always think about, I know it's silly because I'm kind of not necessarily snobby foodie, but back then I'm sure like y'all didn't have like the fancy quick trips and the Buc-ee's and the Casey's and whatever other gas stations are out there. I'm sure they didn't have anything open past 6:00 p.m. But I mean,
a lot of Waffle House.
Oh yeah,
a lot of Waffle House and a lot of meat and eggs, because nobody could do carbs. Everybody had to have their protein, so a lot of Waffle House, a lot of Huddle House. Yeah, seen a lot of that.
And before I forget, I got to get you guys on a separate episode where you can dive into your fandom and your road stories for sure. But Carla, real quick, was there any, like you said, kind of sitting on the sidelines as a woman back in the day, was there any hurdles that you really had to jump over to get that respect in those early days? Because it's obviously way different than it is now. But did you have a lot of hurdles being a female, ring announcer, driving the boys? Any big hurdles there?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that they thought, in the early on, that I did not have any knowledge of wrestling and what it was about. In reality, I saw and heard and did a lot more than I think people realize. Then they do now, absolutely. But I kind of had a thing where I would just be quiet and observe a lot. And the guys would get to the point where like, you were interacting or you were saying something, or what did you see, or what did you think about that? Because they realize, I mean, I'm a fan too. So I'm sitting there watching match after match after match, night after night after night. I mean, there would be times when there were 4 or 5 nights in a row or days in a row where we were doing multiple shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I've seen a lot. And if this person would do this, or if you would, these people, you need to, this heat is building right here between these two people. I think you need to embrace that. The guys understanding that some of those female fans are just as big of fans as your men, and put in as much time, effort, and energy and enthusiasm in it as the males. I think, you know, in this day and age, we see a lot of that, and we realize it and embrace it more. But it got to the point where they would ask me, "Hey, what do you think of that?" Or "What do you think of them?" And ask me for critiques, and then people began to listen. And not that they needed to listen to me, but it was nice to see that hurdle overcome, that the guys were willing to listen to whoever and whatever in order to grow. So I would say that was probably the biggest hurdle.
Gotcha.
Just like I see and hear more than,
Yeah.
And,
I just wanted to kind of put that out there because I always like to have that female perspective. I know it's kind of a little off the cuff here, but you know, I value your insight there, and I want to learn more about it. But kind of back to the St. Louis, you know, Hall of Fame stuff. How excited are you for your late husband to join the ranks of that Hall of Fame?
I'm incredibly excited. Our family is very, very excited. I know that he would be extremely excited. It is an honor. He literally put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the world of independent wrestling. And he didn't do it to be a superstar. I mean, he knew what he wanted and how he wanted to do it. And I believe that he put out a quality product that was intended and geared toward family and family values. And he didn't steer from that, and he didn't let anybody send him in a direction based on their opinions. He stuck to his guns, to his morals, to his ways and his vision, and it worked. And
awesome.
you know, we've got a second generation of kids coming around. He was co-founder of American Championship Wrestling, which is still operating under the guidance of the Searcher. And they have been training. You know, we had a second generation of kids coming along here, of, you know, Mark's son, our son, Pat's daughter, who also trained with and Kane.
Nice.
You know, they're training people, and it's good to see that generation come around, because that was kind of the vision, to embrace it and to keep things alive. And this Hall of Fame is that very thing. You know, we didn't get where we are today. None of us did, without a lot of hard work and with a strong vision. And the Hall of Fame is honoring that for people who've paved the way, who have slept in their cars along the way in order to provide a show, who have ate potato chips and peanuts, you know, in the back room, right? You know, is their meal right after the show. Never before, not peanuts and chips anyway. But after the show, because that's what they could afford. And you know, kept going and kept reinvesting any, you know, dollar that they made in order for, you know, to get on to the next show, or to do better, or to have more gear or more stuff, you know, for the promotion. So it's just a constant reinvestment, and I love seeing it come back around to fruition, and I love seeing him honored, and we're just thankful for that, for him.
And then one more real quick question here for you, then we'll bump back to Luke. What's one moment that stands out, like, as a core memory? Now, it doesn't have to be like a championship win. It could just be like, you know, we're going to get a little romantic here, where, you know, he won his match and he, you know, swept you into his arms, gave you a big old kiss. Like, that's a core moment for, you know, I'm a romantic, you know, like, I like to spoil my wife. I talk about her. I praise her. People probably think I'm a little too obsessed. But if she wasn't my wife, I mean, what's the point, right? But you know, what's a real core memory between you two? It doesn't even have to be, you know, 100% wrestling related, but what's one memory that you really cherish of your guys' time together in this sport? You know,
traveling together, definitely, and see, having that time spent on the road where you're, it's just you guys in the windshield and whoever's in the vehicle with you, talking, dreaming, and then watching so many of his visions come to fruition, promotions, things with, different heavyweights, with different matches, with cages, with and Beast really brought things along with bringing things out, ECW style, and bringing that here to the Midwest. So seeing what everyone had to bring to the table, and seeing everybody's ideas embraced and then brought to life, that is something a lot of people, I mean, that's living the dream. I dream it, I vision it, I envision it, and then I make it happen. A lot of people don't get that opportunity in life, and they didn't just talk about it, they made it happen. And all these guys, in this class, last year's class, the year before, I mean, I can remember being on the road, sitting with them one-on-one, incredibly humble people, very deserving. And I'm really happy to see this, come for full circle, and for these men to be honored, because a lot has gone into what they have done and what is being done today because of them.
And then to have you as such a ride or die is like so great. Like, one of my favorite things is when I started this silly little podcast, I do vendor tables, and I get candy because the kids usually want something, I give everything away for free at our table. And I remember when she was my girlfriend, I was like, yeah, I got to get this and this. She goes, well, I'm going to buy you the candy. And I was like, you don't have to do that. But like, it just showed me at that moment, she's committed to what I'm doing.
Right.
Even just in the beginning of our relationship. It's a bag of candy, folks. But to me, it was like, she supports this, and now she gives me shit like, okay, don't ask him about his podcast. He won't shut up for 5 minutes. But I mean, just buying that bag of candy was a symbol of like, okay, she respects what I do. She loves that I have this passion, and she's always giving me ideas too, folks. They're not all mine. Yeah, so that's my little key moment. But all right, Luke, one more time. What's that?
I'm sorry, I was going to say, I would add in, on a comical side of those things, answer to that question is watching our kids as other people would chase Marcus around for autographs. It's happened in stores. It happened in a McDonald's drive-through. The person waiting on was like, "Are you Marcus Mansfield?" They had a huge following in Hannibal, Missouri, and this happened in the Hannibal McDonald's, and he's like, yeah, I am. The kids are like, no autographs. We're not chasing him. No one's chasing him around. We're not doing that. And they're like, is Dad really that famous? And I'm like, if they're asking for an autograph, then I guess so. So yeah, that's kind of surreal when you have people chasing you around, asking you for autographs. And people have commented before that, you really had what it took to make it. And Mark's like, what do you mean to make it? I mean, I did make it. Like, I'm living the dream. This is it. This is what I wanted to do, and I did it. And that's success.
Perfect.
And I'm going to jump right in here too, Carly. You talk about the idea of having, when you go to McDonald's or you go to a local restaurant, or you're seen out about town. I remember having my wife and I being stopped in the middle of an aisle of a Walmart supercenter to sign an autograph. That's one of those when you sit there and go, yeah, I think I've done something right here. And that's one of the cool things about the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame is you get to hear all these great stories. And I mean, again, you can talk about one that really stands forward too. And again, pulling that curtain back a little bit, is the idea of how close Marcus and Mayor Glenn Jacobs, Kane, for those that know him, among many other personas, had. And remembering back here on things like WWE Rivals and in his Hall of Fame speech, and talking about how even though Glenn was right on that cusp of superstardom, of legend status, and who was the one to always have his back and help him when times got tough? Marcus Mansfield.
Yeah, and likewise, Glenn is he's been a really good friend through the years. He stayed humble, and he's a really good guy. Sharing a little story about that and talking about autographs, and then going straight into Glenn and the subject to him. I'll share a funny story. In the early '90s, when he first I don't know if you guys remember when he switched. He was going to become the next Diesel,
Okay.
the fake Diesel. And so he had grown his hair out, and it was longer, and he dyed it black, and he was wearing, even on the streets, was wearing a lot of leather and vests and jeans and boots and stuff, kind of having that Diesel look. And he had come home around Halloween time, and we decided we were going to go to the Darkness haunted house down in Soulard. And we went through the haunted house. Nobody bugged him. Nobody really said anything. A lot of people look at him. Of course, he's huge. He's 6'8", and he just stands out wherever he goes. And we got through it. No big, issues with people asking for autographs or mobbing him. But as we're coming through the parking lot and coming down out of the thing, people were like, hey, there he is. Let's get his autograph. And all these people, these kids come running, and Glenn's like, oh no, I'm going to get mobbed. You got to help me. And they're like, Marcus Mansfield, can we get your autograph? Not one person asked for Glenn's. They're all running to Mark, and he's like, dude, I don't know whether to feel offended or what. He's like, what has happened? I was like, well, that's the independent wrestling scene for you. Your fans are, they're loyal, they're dedicated, and they know who they're paying to see and who they're paying to follow. So we got a big chuckle out of that. He wasn't bothered at all. But Marcus got mobbed.
Perfect. All right, Luke, you want to take it home for us one more time? Cut that promo for this great event coming up. And again, guys, I want to get you on separate episodes. I know this is just a quick, short live tonight. But yes, definitely we got to dive into more of those stories. And go ahead, take it away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those that are in the St. Louis area, make it a point this coming Sunday, July 19th, Andre's Banquet Center, 4254 Telegraph Road in St. Louis, Missouri, will be the 2026 Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Doors open at 12:30. The event will start at 1 p.m. Tickets are $30 in advance, $35 at the door. For advanced tickets, you can check out our website at www.istlwhof.com. This year, we have 8 great inductees going into the Hall of Fame. You have Marcus Mansfield. You have The Beast. You have Black Glove Butch Fletcher. You have Steve Montana, Big Bad Ben, Tom Simon, Johnny Ramirez, and the valedictorian Keon Option, all taking their rightful place in the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Not only do you have the opportunity to see and hear all these great stories and see these great legends of the professional wrestling industry be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but you also have the opportunity for a meet and greet, for a luncheon, to look at the history, you name it, from top to bottom. The Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, it is the hot ticket in St. Louis this weekend. There's a lot of great pro wrestling, but why not wrap up your weekend with looking at the history of professional wrestling, that being the 2026 Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame induction ceremony. There will be a pre-show, and there will be streaming of the event for all the upcoming events. If you're not in the St. Louis area and you want to follow along with the ceremony, make it a point to check out the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can also check out Friends of the Squared Circle as well. I know they're going to be carrying the Hall of Fame ceremony as well. It's going to be a great time in St. Louis talking about the legacy of professional wrestling this coming Sunday in St. Louis at Andre's Banquet Center.
Perfect. And guys, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us. I forgot to read the comments. We had a few in there, so just know we saw them. Well, I saw them. We'll have to do that, but we got to do this again. I would love to do an individual episode on each of the Hall of Famers. If you guys are definitely interested in doing that, we can get some pictures and stuff put up after the Hall of Fame and stuff, because I'm sure you guys are super busy, obviously. But yeah, let's make it happen. And again, folks, if you want to be on a future episode with me, the #1 beard in all of pro wrestling podcasting, self-proclaimed, because no one can take it away for me, hit us up on our social medias: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You name it. Look for me. Look for the beard, and we'll get you on an episode. It's your boy, Crander Q, and friends out.
Thanks.
You're welcome.